Even for those who had high expectations for the team coming into the season, the Raptors have been quite the surprise package in the NBA, vying for a playoff position. So in today's video, we want to look at if they can continue to win games at this rate and what you can expect from the team for the rest of the season. Let's get into it. Welcome NBA and Raptors fans to Amateur Hour Sports, your source for dedicated Raptors content at least 4 times a week. So if that is of interest to you, then make sure you subscribe to the channel. Help us on the road to 9,000 subscribers. And if you want to continue the conversation beyond YouTube, check out our Twitch streams as well as our Discord with the link in the description. But let's get into our video for today. The Toronto Raptors, one day away from getting ready for the post All-Star break portion of the season. I really call this the halfway point of the season. Obviously, we're a little beyond halfway in terms of games played, but at this point, this is where teams really need to have things figured out. Either at this point, you got it or you don't. And teams are going to be looking at their options as results. Obviously, you can make a late season push, but pretty much at this point, you know exactly what you're going to get from every team in the NBA. And what we're getting from the Raptors right now is exciting, pacey basketball. Sometimes it's not the prettiest in the way that they play, but they have had some outrageous individual performances over the course of this season, going up to a 32-25 record at this point. Raptors fans, even the ones who are really optimistic, as I mentioned, might be a little bit surprised. The Raptors are definitely overachieving. They were thought to be a team that was destined for another lottery pick here, but right now they're sitting comfy in a very high play-in position, the possibility of moving up into a playoff position, but at this point, I can't see them falling any lower than a play-in spot. I expect them by the end of the season to host a play-in game. That's kind of the way I was expecting this season to go for the Raptors. I felt like that the end of the season, at the start of the season, I predicted a 44-38 record. And I thought that was slightly optimistic of me, but I had optimistic feelings about the way this team could play over the course of the season. And they're on pace to be better than that 44-38 record that I set. If they maintain this current pace, the Raptors will finish above that. They're projected to win 46 wins at this point. And right now, actually, they have the 24th hardest schedule in the remaining games. I think that's a little bit skewed for the Raptors. They have quite a few games against the Boston Celtics and the Brooklyn Nets, who, despite their lower seed, are actually really good teams. But according to all of the data available, the Raptors have an easier schedule as we get into the end of the season. And if everybody can stay healthy, I just expect them to maintain course here. There's going to be win streaks. There's probably going to be some small losing streaks as well for this team, as they have been a little bit inconsistent in that regard. But recently, over the last month or so, I think they are really starting to find that level of consistency, the way that they want to play, playing through Pascal Siakam, playing through the spacing set by Gary Trent Jr. and Fred VanVleet, and that is what allowing this team to be successful. The Raptors have struggled a little bit when it comes to playing against the zone defenses. When it comes to man-to-man, we know how to find the isolation matchups. We know what to do to get the best results possible. Against the zone, it really comes down to Fred VanVleet and Gary Trent Jr. If they're knocking down their shots or spacing the floor well, this team can be successful. Pascal Siakam is surgical when he has the ball in his hands this season. So giving him that extra space by shooting well is what allows this team to get to the next level. But with such a young team that are still gelling together, I really think they are starting to find it. With a trade to get rid of Goran Dragic and take on Thaddeus Young, this team wants to be better as we head towards the playoff season. And I expect this team to maintain course here. I still think 44-38 is a pretty reasonable way to predict the Raptors finish this season. I said that at the start of the season, and I have really maintained that all throughout the season. Maybe there was a little bit of a negative period where I thought maybe they'd slip under that, but 44-38, the start season sounded great. And again, we're on pace to finish above that. What is going to allow this team to be successful just beyond health? I mean, health has got to be one of the most important things for this team, a team that does not really have a ton of depth. Like if Siakam or VanVleet goes down, we are in a bit of a perilous situation. But what this team needs to continue to do to be successful is continue to rely on the skills of Pascal Siakam. I think that he's going to be vying for a very rare occurrence where he's going to be in an all-NBA team and not in an all-star team. I really think he was robbed of an all-star position, but he has seriously been a top 15 player in the NBA this season. And as a result, obviously the individual accolades takes secondary to what the actual team wants to do. But Siakam, the way he's playing, if he continues to play like this, he is going to help this team and propel this team to possibly another level. It's a very, very competitive Eastern Conference. There were a lot of teams vying for the position the Toronto Raptors are in. The Brooklyn Nets, you kind of have to expect them to improve after making such a huge trade, getting rid of James Harden, but they bring in Ben Simmons and some other good depth pieces. I still think Steve Nash might be holding that team back a little bit, but nonetheless, there's a lot of talent there. The Boston Celtics have really figured out all of their problems. They're getting better and better. One of the best defensive teams in the league. But consequently, as teams like that are rising up, you've got teams falling off as well. The Wizards are really starting to fall off. The Charlotte Hornets have won 1 of their last 10 games. It is for the taking here for the Raptors to get into a playoff position. And even though there's going to be a lot of people watching this video who feel like a first round exit in the playoffs, a likely first round exit in the playoffs is not worth it, and you'd rather go for, a better draft pick. But that's not on the table anymore. We don't have that draft pick available. Our draft position is not in our hands. And as much as I don't really like the trade, I like the fact that Raptors fans have an idea and we now know what the ambitions and goals of this team are. This Raptors team wants to be the best team possible because we're going to be trying to win games to the end of the season because it doesn't really matter if we lose games. There is no benefit to losing games anymore. Last season, there was a big divide among people who wanted to tank and people who did not want to tank, but it's impossible now. There's no point of losing games because we just don't have that draft pick. I don't necessarily agree with the trade, but we understand what this team wants to be. This team wants to get into a playoff position. They've made a trade that slightly helps out their bench by bringing in Thaddeus Young. I think that he's a very smart veteran player. Even in his limited role so far, you notice the veteran tendencies that he has compared to other players. Like, it's not about working hard to get the points. It's about working smart, making that backdoor cut, making that diagonal cut to the rim to find the pass from VanVleet, to find the pass from Siakam for an easy 2 points. He does that enough, he's going to help this team be successful. So this team has really, really decided that it's time to go out and win games. No more of this tanking business. And I really like the mindset that it's going to put the players in because there are so many players that I think are going beyond expectations for this season, like Siakam, VanVleet, Gary Trent, Scottie Barnes. All 4 of those guys have exceeded the expectations I set for them at the beginning of the season. They're really hauling this Raptors team above what their projections were coming into the season. So right now, again, as that 7 seed, Brooklyn kind of nipping on our heels as the 8 seed. Kind of funny Goran Dragic signed for a team below the Raptors, but I don't think he's going to affect much there as he signed for the Brooklyn Nets. But I think that Brooklyn are really going to start to figure it out. I think the Raptors are destined for an 8 or 9 seed, and I hope it's an 8 seed because you can get 2 shots at the play-in tournament. I don't necessarily agree with the play-in tournament, but it makes for exciting basketball, and the Raptors are likely going to be involved in that play-in tournament. We're going to get some exciting games, some one-and-done games in the NBA, which, until very recently was not something that you ever saw. So the Raptors are going to be exciting to the end of the season. Once we get to the end of the season, the Raptors have an 84% chance of making the playoffs. As much as maybe the Raptors have like a second round ceiling, it is going to be exciting watching this team play beyond for the rest of the season. I think they're just going to maintain course, get to the playoffs, and they're not going to be a team that you want to face in the first round. I don't think they're going to be favorites in any first round matchup, but they're going to be a tough team to play against. The length and the athleticism that this team possesses, they have beaten some of the biggest teams in the East this year. Like, we've beaten Miami. We have beaten the Bucks. Like, we have been able to beat some of the best in the Eastern Conference. And since we can compete with them, maybe in a playoff series over 7 games, almost always a 7-game series finds the best team. Maybe we can somehow shock some team when we get there. We're going to be a difficult team to play against. It's not going to be a great matchup for the opposition. And I'm all here for the fun. The Raptors, I was expecting them to be kind of in this zone in a play-in spot. And I'm not going in with the greatest amount of expectations. I think for the rest of the regular season, again, maintain course, win 44 to 46 games. And when you get to the playoffs, great learning experience for the players on the court. Siakam, maybe he can fight some of those playoff demons. Fred VanVleet, we've seen what he can do in the playoffs before. Maybe maybe he can continue that. Gary Trent, OG Anunoby, Scottie Barnes get some really much needed playoff reps. OG, I mean, he's hit one of the biggest shots in the history of the Raptors when it comes to playoffs. So he's been there, done that. He's an NBA champion. But I would like to see this team where some of these guys who were maybe involved in that NBA championship have a much bigger role with the team now and have to be the focal point of the team as it comes to playoffs. The playoff experience, if we can get there, is going to be vital for a lot of these young guys and really helps lay that solid foundation for future aspirations of winning a championship. Probably not going to happen this season, but lots of great things are happening for this franchise. It is a very, very good time to be a fan of the Toronto Raptors, in my opinion. The future looks very bright. Other than not having a first-round pick this season, everything looks great for the future. I am so excited to see where this team can go. Thanks so much for watching this video. Please give a like if you did enjoy. It goes a long way to supporting the channel. And make sure you're subscribed to Amateur Sports for more Raptors videos. In fact, 4 Raptors videos every single week can help me on my road to 9,000 subscribers. Never miss out on any of the content. And like I said, you can check out our watch parties on Twitch. We do a watch party for every single Raptors game. You can come hang out with me and a great group of Raptors fans. And if you want to continue the conversation, we have a Discord with a lot of great Raptors fans, over 100 people in there who like to chat about basketball. Maybe that's something you'd be interested in as well. Links in the description for that. Also, I'll see you again next time for another video.